Yes, this one. I hope you can hear me clearly, because the last talk was something like space. So again, I hope you can hear my sound, and waiting for the screen.
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, thanks. Right now I cannot see my slides. Anyway, I should start it. We started to work against or to do something with light pollution in the 90s. I can't even remember the exact year where we started to work in this. Actually, that was something like a new university building, and someone next to the observatory at the university planned some kind of light tower there. So that was one of the motivation for the first act in Hungary. I still cannot see my slide.
Yes, I cannot see too.
Okay, I will try to share the presentation from my screen.
Yeah, I could see it for a short period from your screen, I guess. Okay.
Okay, is it visible?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what I mentioned. So we had lots of collaboration with the Lighting Society of Hungary. That's an important one, because my major idea here in Hungary to educate the people, educate the lighting engineer, educate the architects, or all the people who make the light pollution. Because even if you have some kind of law, sometimes it is almost impossible to reduce really the light pollution if the people do not understand what is the problem with the light pollution and how to make solutions. Next slide, please. And the next act in Hungary was the start of the Dark Sky Park program. And as a result of this program in Europe, together with the Scottish Galloway Forest Park, the Hungarian Zselic landscape protection was the first Dark Sky Park in Europe. Next slide, please. And next slide, these are just images. And since the first Dark Sky Park in Hungary in 2009, we had two others, the Hortobágy National Park in 2011 and the Bükk National Park in 2017. Just go through the next three slides. Those are pictures from these Dark Sky Parks in Hungary, the Zselic, Hortobágy, and the Bükk, the last one. And the next slide, please. This Dark Sky Park program in Hungary was really important. The next slide, please. Was really important because it helped us to communicate with the Ministry of Environment, with environmentalists in all different offices, and this started some new cooperation with different people. The next slide, please. Somehow it's stuck at the Bükk, at least on my screen.
Can you see the other slides? I'm already at the projects in Hungary.
Oh, I cannot see it. It's strange.
Okay. And now?
Yes. So we are there, and very recently we started some new projects at the university. First of all, to make measurements in Hungary, and also to develop international cooperation with other researchers primarily for research on light pollution, but also to make some kind of pilot projects in Hungary to show how to prevent light pollution. Next slide, please. This project is a cooperation of 3 universities. And next slide, that's just the temporal duration of these projects and the budget. So these are the 3 universities. Prefer to say Starry Sky Park in Hungary. So those 2 dark sky parks are already included in this project. Next slide, please. And the first project is strongly connected to the National Landscape Strategy of Hungary. So that is something by the Minister of Agriculture, and previously it was the Ministry of Environment. And inside this landscape strategy, one of the important movement is to get a light pollution survey of the whole Hungary, and also at the first stage survey of the national parks. So that's another cooperation with the ministry. I just will show you an example of these measurements in Hungary on the next slide. We started to make this survey in the national parks, that is from the big Starry Sky Park, where we use a system of digital cameras, and our goal during this home working state due to the COVID virus, we could not continue this these measurements during the spring, but I hope that we can continue very soon our measurements. So that is our important part of these projects in Hungary in cooperation with the National Park Service. Next slide, please. And we also plan to put some all-sky cameras, fixed cameras in all the national parks in Hungary to get a continuous survey of the state of light pollution. And the next 2 slides, you will see some examples of these measurements. That's from April, lots of photos stacked together, and that's after some kind of color coding of the brightness. Here you can see the changes due to the moon phases, the lunar phases, the natural variation of the night sky, and also some weather conditions. And on longer time scale, we will have a large database on light pollution for all the national parks. Next slide, please. And another important part.
Next slides cannot be seen, sorry. Only the big Starry Sky Park still.
Okay.
I can see.
I cannot.
It's strange that this WebEx is not the best system for video conferencing.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. Yes, that's the correct slide. And István, can you see this?
I can see the National Landscape Strategy slide.
Yeah, that's with the lighting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so another part of the National Landscape Strategy for Hungary to make some pilot projects to demonstrate good lighting without or minimize light pollution. And we did this for 2 villages close to the Starry Sky Parks. Next slide, please. Yes, 2 villages, one in the Zselic and one in the Bükk. And we did a complete lighting remodeling for these villages. The luminous flux, the spectra can be changed, and during the project we use it to test some kind of biomonitoring together with different settings of the lighting, and after the project that will work just for normal lighting. Next slide, please. Those are the test sites for this project in the Bükk and the Zselix. We can go to the next slide. And those are the phases. This white light is before the reconstruction, and orange after, that is during the remodeling of the lighting. We can go to the next few slides quickly, that is after the remodeling. Next slide. And we can see all the next 4 or 5 slides. These are some demonstrations how the situations changed in these villages. Now this orange light dominates. That's a huge change in glare and light pollution level. Next slide, please. And we can, during the last 2 slides, you could see that during the night, after 10 p.m., the color is changed, and also the shape of the beam is changed to lit only the middle of the road and not the gardens. Next slide, please. That was the public lighting in Bárdudvar, one of the villages before, and the next slide shows the public lighting after this reconstruction. So even the light level is improved, but at the same time, the light pollution decreased. And I'm really happy to tell you that the people in the villages were really happy with the new lighting, because it was better for walking, for the traffic, but at the same time, it has less bad effect even inside the houses. Next slide, please. That is the spectrum of the lighting before the change. It's a typical fluorescent lamp with a strong blue peak. Next slide, please. And that is the LED system we use. This solid black line is the main lighting in the twilight and the early night period, and the colored part is just the amber orange light for the middle of the night. The color temperature for the beginning is 24,000, and for the middle of the night it is just 19,000. As I saw, the next slide was a little bit scrambled, but I can say that that's a really up-to-date story. Next Saturday, that's the International Day of Lighting. The Ministry of Agriculture will publish a new guide for all the national parks, all the local government or city officers about the light pollution, how to decrease the level of light pollution, and these guidelines will be used by those people who give permits for new light. So that is another form to educate people, lighting engineers, architects, and all the people in the offices to improve the lighting system. And in the next 2 slides, you can see some pages from this document. Unfortunately, it is in Hungarian, but that is for the Hungarian offices and Hungarian people. But this shows the structure, even these spectra from the previous slides. You can go to the next slide now, and some examples of bad and good lightings. Next slide, please. Lots of us is working in our project, and even István is inside the author list. Next slide, please, just for another 3 pages. The slide in my screen is again stuck for this one.
Okay, I will stop it and
I have only
Turn it on.
3 or 4 more slides. A little bit. Okay. The previous one was not so important, so that's just for the project. Next slide, please. Just to conclude, we missed some of the slides, but that was the conclusion that the major part of our work was to build a strong cooperation between different people. Even our enemies is just in with some love with the lighting engineers, because if you want to get some good results, you have to work with everyone, and our strategy to find collaborators and alliances. And it worked at least with the national parks, the Lighting Society of Hungary, and hopefully we can continue it in the future, and hope that in some times we will have also some kind of stricter rules in Hungary. No, there are some rules in the building code for that. Actually, that could be a strict law, but it is hard to get working in the reality. And we have some good laws for the protected places in Hungary. So thanks for your attention. If you have any question, I am happy to answer it.